So speaking of Tupac becoming a star, so his first solo album, Tupacalypse Now, you and Shock were a part of that. You produced it. Obviously, you were featured on a track, one of his first hits, essentially, Get Around. So tell me about that experience. He's going to start to go solo. How does that work? You know, it's like it happens with lots of bands, right? One of them bandmates or all of them go off and start their own little side solo projects. How did that?
Well,
what was your perspective on that? I guess what I'm trying to say.
Digital Underground. I think I mentioned earlier that Digital Underground was always Shock's baby, right? And Shock looked at it as a vehicle to get his art out musically, right? So it didn't matter who the rapper was or who the musician was. He had his ideas. He wanted, if you could help him complete or bring his visions together, then that's what it was. So I always looked at Digital Underground more of like a big production sort of crew, right? You know, you couldn't even be in our group unless you had aspirations to do something bigger.
Oh, interesting.
Because you were never gonna be bigger than Shock in Digital Underground, but he wanted that big talent to be in Digital Underground.
Right.
So, like I said, Tupac, they were shopping his solo deal before he even came out on his first tour with us. So he didn't say, hey, guess what, guys, I'm going solo.
I'm going off now.
It was like, come, same thing with myself and DJ Fuse. We were a group called Raw Fusion with Mac Moan. Help me get this thing going, and I'll do everything that I can to help you get your deal and what you want to do. We were Wu-Tang before Wu-Tang, because that's what Wu-Tang was.
Right.
It was a collective of a bunch of solo acts and groups collectively coming together.
This is an incubator, all work together, but then you're gonna take.
But it was RZA.
Yeah.
Wu-Tang Clan was RZA's sort of. He was the mastermind. He produced it, and he sort of delegated who got what, and this, that, and other. That's what Shock was. But this is way before Wu-Tang. So, you know, the misconception is people always say like, oh yeah, he used to be in Digital Underground. Well, we never fired him or kicked him out.
Right.
You know, it was almost like a gang. Once you in it, you in it. Unless you sign something saying that you want to be away from it or released from it, you know? And that happens. But for the most part, Tupac was never not a member of Digital Underground once he was in Digital Underground. Money B, I had Raw Fusion. I've even done Money B solo projects, but I'm still a member of Digital Underground.
Right.
And that's what it was. So back to your question. So off the success of what we were doing on the road and with the way Humpty Dance, the What You Like, same song, Kiss You Back, all that shit. Well, before Kiss You Back. Tupac gets a deal, Raw Fusion gets a deal. There's another group, Gold Money, who is, Pee Wee was also one of the original members. He's in Kiss You Back, and he produced on Pac's album. But H. and Gregory and TNT Records, they had a 24-hour block for 2 months at Starlight Studios. And this was for all the groups to record. So you had Raw Fusion, Tupac, Gold Money, and Digital Underground recording the second album, which was Sons of the P. So it was just a revolving door of us with studio time.
Right.
If I had 8 hours, the next 8 might be Tupac, or it might be Gold Money, or it might be a Digital Underground session. And if it wasn't our session, we knew somebody was at the studio. So sometimes we would just go hang out. Like that just also became like our headquarters, our hangout. So during the recording of Tupacalypse Now, I was probably in the studio for at least 75% of that recording, because either it was right before or after a Raw Fusion session, or I just went up to the studio because I had shit to do, just go hang out. That's why I ended up on Brenda's Got a Baby, because I just happened to be there. And I just happened to have Dave Hollister and Ronnie Levias with me. They were with me that day, and we just started jamming, and that song came about organically, you know.
So tell me about that, because this is now we're going to talk about the trial in a minute, but the Keefe D trial, Tupac's murder. There's a conspiracy theory out there that Keefe is now using as like an alternative theory for his defense, and it hinges on, it's very convoluted and it has evolved over the years, but it hinges on this claim that Snoop's cousin Lil Half Dead wrote Brenda's Got a Baby and Tupac stole it from him, and that was the catalyst for Tupac's murder. It's an insane thing. You're there for Brenda's Got a Baby, so tell me definitively for everybody.
Okay, so Tupac, and you know, sometimes I get the timelines mixed up, but because I thought that happened before, because I just remember recording Tupacalypse Now before he did the movie, or at least we started. But from what I understand, he was in New York during that time. And
Shooting Juice.
Yeah.
And that was a news story there.
Yeah. It was in the New York Times or whatever, the New York paper. He read the story about a young girl that dumped her baby in a dumpster. And it hit him here, and he wrote a song about it. And I remember him rapping it to me off of the notebook that he wrote, and him telling us the origins of where that story came from. So this little half-dead theory is wild to me.
Right.
But because I was actually there, I saw the notebook.
In his hand.
In his hand, and when he was writing it, and him telling me. So, and when he, Big D, Dion Evans, produced it, who's a childhood friend of mine. Like I said, I was there at the studio when they were recording it, and Pop just wanted to tell the story. It didn't have a hook. If you notice, that song is just one long verse without a hook. And he just wanted to get that story out.
It was like a poem.
Yeah, it was.
More than the song, yeah.
More than the song.
Yeah.
It just so happened that we were all there, and organically we just started, you know, they were singing in the mix room, and Tupac was like, hey, could y'all do that in there? And they went in and did that. He's like, hey, man, say this line. I was like, sure. You know what I mean? Nobody ever thought twice. It was just another day in the studio where we were vibing, and it was good. But me personally, I remember him writing that song and sharing that he wanted to record it, where it came from, and what it was about. So that day wasn't the first time I heard it. I remember him writing and telling us about it.
Yeah. So there you go.
That's facts.
Facts.